In this video, learn the proven process to create your trading goals. Watch at the one Lance B, the number one trader at a prominent prop firm in back-to-back years, share his annual reflections and goal setting process for you on how to do this with your trading business. I'm Mike Bellafiore, and we're a long-standing proprietary trading firm in New York City with numerous highly successful traders, almost all of whom started their trading careers with S&B. All of us at S&B hope you find this channel to be the destination for you to learn and grow as a trader.
Hi, I'm Lance Brightstein, and today I'll be presenting one of my favorite topics, annual reflections and goal setting. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheOneLanceB for more tips for trading and more. Really, all of this ties into meta learning and deliberate practice. One of the most important tenets of meta learning and deliberate practice is you really want specific goals and areas that you're intentionally working to improve upon. This is what I call trading with intention or mindful trading. It's so important. I've seen so many trainees start up and they just waste day by day on the desk, just operating haphazardly without a goal, without a specific area that they're trying to improve each day. And as a result, they improve far slower than they wish. Every single day, you want to maximize your ability to grow and learn. So how does one do that? This is the book, The Big Miss, and by Hank Haney, and this was Tiger Woods' swing coach talking about what it was like to work with him. And one of the things he talks about is every single time he was going up to the ball to hit it, even on the driving range, he would never hit more than a dozen balls without stepping away and reflecting on what he was trying to accomplish. If he needed to make a little tweak, was he doing that in each of his swings? Was it accomplishing what he was trying to reach and improve towards? And I think this is such an important thing because it shows how intentional Tiger was, and we kind of want to practice that same way. So how does one trade with intention? So first of all, the daily report card is one way of doing so. What the daily report card does is it forces you to zone in on a single goal you're trying to improve, and you grade that day solely as a matter of whether you achieved that objective. Another way to trade with intention is by doing an annual reflection and setting annual goals. When I was running an office, December was dedicated to reviewing the year and then making goals for the next, along with the systems to achieve them. This was an essential process. Every single trader on my desk took part in this exercise. So here I'm going to walk you through the process we used, and I hope you do this to improve your trading as well. So getting into the annual reflection part, which is the first part of this process. Before you go anywhere, you need to start collecting your trading data. You want to really tag your trades. You want to tag them by strategy, you want to tag them by time of day, by catalyst, by all sorts of variables. And then you want to crunch those stats on the data. You want to analyze everything from the win rates, what your risk reward is, overall P&L, how certain correlations might exist. Do you trade worse if you're underslept? Do you trade worse if you're distracted? And so what this does is it starts to give you an idea of kind of where you're making your money, where you're losing it. And another part of data collection that I like to do is I like to aggregate all my outsized winners and all my losers. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the charts and the write-ups and in-depth analyze maybe my 25 best or 25 worst trades of the year. I was a pretty active trader, so 25 seemed like an appropriate subset, but that number might vary for you. And once I collected that data, you need to analyze it. And here are some guiding questions that might help you spot patterns that are going to be useful. What were your most profitable categories of trades? What were your worst? Do you even know that right now if I ask you before doing this project? What are the categories that might be totally break even, yet consume precious mental capital? Did any of these results surprise when you collected that data? Another question to ask is, what were your easy money trades? They might not be the same as anyone else, but what were your least stressful, easiest layups? And vice versa, what were the most stressful trades for you? You might need to later remove those as we do this process. How does your trading P&L correlate to your morning temp check? This was something I did on my daily report card, where before the open each day, I'd quote unquote, check my temperature. Like, how was I feeling? Was I well slept? Was I focused? Was I on tilt? Was I feeling FOMO? Was there anything I was anxious about that might affect my trading? What I found is that correlated so well to my performance each day. Another thing to look into is, are there any times of day or specific days that follow a pattern? For example, maybe you tend to take big losses when you're sick or tired. One other thing that I found that was interesting, and I've seen happen with other people, is losses before vacation. what I would find is the day before going on vacation, I'd often already be mentally checked out. I'd be getting lazy. My routine would be faltering. And as a result, I was so much more prone to taking big rips on those days. This allowed me to be cautious in the future once I had that data. Another thing with this is maybe a big pattern is you're going to find your broken slot machine. Maybe all your big wins in 22 were on the CPI days, or maybe they were on the market panic days. Another question to ask is, what are the commonalities of you trading at your best? What about when you trade at your worst? So now it's so important as you're doing this to be careful of faulty assumptions. I think this is probably most common when you are a younger developing trader. And what I'll see is a trader that's 3 months in or 6 months in or a year in, and they'll say, I'm not good at X category of trade, therefore I need to remove that trade. But that's not necessarily true, because what so often happens is you're still learning, you're still getting your reps. It's like a middle school basketball player saying, "Oh, I'm not good at the 3-point shot yet, therefore I shouldn't ever trade that." And the thing is, like, you're not good at the 3-point shot yet because you're still growing, you're still developing, you're still building the strengths that you need to make that kind of shot. Another thing that's interesting where I see people make a wrong assumption is just because you're break even in a type of trade, that might not mean it should be removed or that you're not good at it. So what I see is sometimes earlier in the year, you're taking most of the losses, but you're improving and refining during the course of the year, and your P&L, it's actually increasing over time, but if you aggregate it too much, you're just not seeing it. So you really want to dig deep and get the right lens as you analyze this data. Another thing I see too is people will say, oh, this time of day is no good for me, I should be off the desk. So this is also potentially a fallacy. Like, just because the time of day isn't good for you, that doesn't mean you need to get off the desk. It just might mean being hyper selective or not trading or using that time for productive work. I really, really encourage people to make use of the trading day and be productive throughout it. So once you've kind of taken that data, analyzed it, you really want to summarize and review the conclusions. What I like to do is create a document in Evernote that summarizes the findings and the biggest lessons from the year. I'll ask myself, how did I improve this year? What led to the most growth? And how can I double down on those areas? How can I still the year into a few key themes that, if improved upon, would dramatically improve your trading? In fact, even now, as I've been going other people's goals, I ask them, what is the one thing that would lead to the biggest dramatic turnaround in your trading for 23? Then I want you to take time and sit with this document and reflect on it. Take weeks to edit and improve upon it. You don't need to do this all at once. Epiphanies happen over time, and a lot of this stuff is really deep thinking, deep reflection, and you really want to not rush that type of stuff. Another good practice is, once you do this review, go over it with others. Others are so useful in helping you spot any potential blind spots, and your pod can also help you analyze things in a different or better way. Then you want to update that document based on their feedback. Once you do that data analysis, now we get to the goal setting portion of it. And Dr. Steenbarger was so spot on with this quote. He was saying that many times it's about identifying our strengths and what we do well and then building on that framework. What do I do when I'm in the zone and truly successful? Not everyone has the fast processing skills to be a scalper. Not everyone has the deep dive skills to be a macro investor. The key is to figure out what we are truly good at and then construct the goals and development process for becoming all that we can be. So the beauty of that data and knowing ourselves and doing this reflection is we can then really construct these goals upon our strengths. And so we can emphasize those while then trying to avoid our weaknesses. So step 2A of this is write down the big picture goals. The whole point of setting goals is to make sure you're heading in an intentional direction. Use the reflection part of this to really think about where you want to end up and what will get you there. Maybe you want to become a 7-figure trader. That's fantastic, but what are the concrete goals that you need to achieve that? How broad might your playbook need to be to do so? What might your sizing need to be to do so? How might you need to spot more of your best opportunities if you're going to become a 7-figure trader? Big picture goals also don't need to be P&L focused, or at least all P&L focused, and I'd argue they shouldn't be. Maybe your goal is also to reduce your stress, or to study more efficiently, or to collaborate more. Now, step 2B is test for sufficiency. What do I mean by that? Essentially, when you make these goals, are they all the necessary steps to help you reach that destination? Let's say you're an NBA player and your goal is to become the best offensive player in the league. It's not sufficient enough just to say you want to work out in the weight room. It's not sufficient enough to just do your dribbling skills. It's not sufficient enough to just do shooting drills. The reality is it's a confluence of so many goals that are going to take you to be that end result. And to apply that back to the trading world, Say you want to expand your playbook to 3 new trades. Maybe you can break that down further by saying you're going to collab with 1 new trader per month. Or maybe you're going to build a pod or a DRC, daily report card email chain for idea sharing. Step 2C is proactively identify risks. What might derail you from reaching your goals? Are there any ways to proactively minimize those risks? For example, if you're a basketball player, you might need to be doing an hour per day of mobility training to avoid injury. Or even setting simple rules like don't set off fireworks in your spare time. Now, bringing that to trader world, if your goal is to become a 7-figure trader and push your size, you really want to worry about it, about setting guardrails. Maybe you're going to set a proactive guardrail where you're going to reduce your size 10% after 3 negative days. Or maybe after a 15K drawdown, you might start to reduce. So how can you proactively make sure you don't fail while reaching for these? Now, the biggest thing as you do these is be specific. Bell and I have long noticed that the best traders are the most specific and detailed by far. It is one of the keys that separate the elite from the weekend warrior. As I've been going over many traders here and their 22 review and their 23 goals, it's no coincidence that the best traders and the best up-and-coming trainees are the ones that are writing multiple pages of analysis. They're the ones getting super specific and really visualizing that path to what's going to take them to that future success. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be the document that lays out that path. It's going to trickle down and guide every single rep and every day you spend working towards being great. The effort here is massive returns, so make sure you do this right. And what do I mean by be specific? Don't just say, I want to trade bigger size. What does that even mean? You might think, oh, okay, I want to trade 30% bigger. Okay, that's better, but all across the board or where? I want to trade 30% bigger in my breakouts and breaking news trades because my data said that those are my best. Great. Now, when do you want to set that goal? I want to trade 30% bigger in those breakouts and breaking news trades within 6 months. Now we are talking. So here are some goal examples. So for starters, I uploaded my 2019 and 2020 trading goals. These documents are 2 to 4 pages long. So if interested, please find them in my tweet from November 27th with links to them. It's a little bit too long for me to go over them in this video, but what I did then is now take just another example. My goal is to make $1 million in breaking news trades this year. How is this trader going to do it? Maybe they break that down by saying each Friday, I'm going to write up in detail the top 3 news trades of the week and include their charts. Then every Sunday, I'm going to watch the highlight reel videos of news trades for an hour. And then I'm going to find a developing trader to share a breaking news daily report card with in Q1 and then sustain that habit to year end. Those are really, really specific, actionable, process-oriented goals. Love it. So now I often get asked the question, do I believe in outcome goals? How do you weigh the balance between process versus outcome? And what do I even mean by an outcome goal? An outcome goal is saying, I want to make X amount of P&L, or I want to have a certain amount of 6-figure trades. So the reality is you only want to do an outcome goal if they're going to serve you as a positive motivator rather than being a demotivator if you don't achieve them. All the time I see people set lofty goals, which is great in theory. But what happens is as they start to struggle in a year that changes or challenges them, like 22, they then end up getting demotivated or view themselves as a failure, when it's really not the case as long as they're improving versus being their best self, right? So I've traditionally used an outcome goal for visualization purposes, but I'm never emotionally attached to that goal. That is a key difference. All my other goals are process focused because it's the stuff I can control, and that's going to make up most of my time and energy. So what's the right number of goals? I would best describe it as ambitious but achievable. The reality is a year is a really long time. In the next section, when we talk about systemizing, you realize just how much you can get done in short periods. But keep in mind, this document's going to be dynamic and you're going to update it as you go. So don't stress too much about the right amount. You can always reduce over time if too many or add more if too few. So now we're getting to probably the best part, or at least my favorite part, system building. And this quote is so apt from James Clear's Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books. If successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. It's only when they implemented a system of continuous small improvements that they achieved a different outcome. So really, the system is everything. If goals give us that direction and that path of where we want to move towards, the system is the explicit daily actions we take to get there. The more detailed and thorough you can be, the more likely you will succeed in reaching those goals. It is so easy to say, I will get better at X or I will become a star trader. Everyone does that. But what separates the winners is the people that are able to figure out the steps necessary to achieve that goal, and they build a system to do that each and every day. So we're going to break the goal into systems. What are all the individual steps necessary to take in order to achieve that goal? For example, say you want to trade 30% bigger in your strongest trades within 6 months. In order to achieve that, that system is going to be, I'm going to review all my trades, which allow me for more size and have the best EV. Then I'm going to gradually increase my default key sizes by 5% each month in those specific trades. Then to make sure that incremental size isn't hurting my expected value, I'm going to confirm so and do that data analysis after the fact. I want to focus during market hours and avoid distractions. If that's your goal, you might say, I want to avoid using my phone during market hours. I want to set a browser extension that blocks non-essential websites. And I want to remove the TV from the office and delete video games from computers. All those are the system that allows you or helps ensure that you're going to reach that goal. And then what you want to do is schedule the steps. An example from that prior slide, taking it one step further, is you want to say, when are you going to review those trades and figure out when they have the best EV? Okay, maybe the first 2 weeks of January. Then you want to set calendar alerts and schedule time to do that, ideally even with a trading buddy. And then the next step is confirm that that increased size isn't ruining your expected value. So maybe you'll say at the end of each week, I'm going to do that analysis to make sure of it. Then you could even set P&L alerts that might tip you off ahead of time if the extra size is starting to hurt you. And you want to schedule that time in each and every week. As Bella always says, if you don't hard code these into your calendar schedule, you're not maximizing your odds of success. Step 3C is to share these with your pod, both the goals and the system. And you want to ask, is there any way you all can better collaborate on them? Is there any way a pod member can hold you more accountable? Or might they have better solutions that you might have thought about? Can you even achieve any of them faster through the help of a teammate? Or might they have resources you need? We see this all the time at SMB. Every month we have team meetings, and throughout, Carlton and Bella are trying to link traders together and say, Trader John has resources in coding and programming. You might want to speak with him. Trader James is working on these easy money trades and documenting them. You might want to combine your project with his. And it's so important because it makes everybody jump higher together. Now, the final thing is checking in and adapting. As I mentioned, these goals aren't static, right? You want to review them regularly. What use are these goals if you don't check on them until the end of the year? They're totally useless, right? So I recommend referencing them at least once a month and always keeping them in back of mind. You can also create a checklist that summarizes your goals and allows you to track the progress throughout the year. I would always have my goals printed out on my desk, and it would always be top of mind. If it was slow or when I'd get in the morning, I'd always give a quick read through to make sure there wasn't some change or adaptation I needed to make, or to make sure I was still on track for where I want to go. And you want to update them over time. I can't emphasize this enough. They're not static documents. What if you achieve your goals in a week? Do we then sit around for the other 51? Or what if the market changes and you need to change targets or strategies or adapt with it? Are you going to wait a whole year to do so? Sadly, too many people do that. You need to ensure that these goals are relevant and as effective as possible. We never know what the market will bring us. At the least, I would do a mid-year update with my pod to make sure I was going in the direction I needed to be headed. So here's the process overall. First, we do that annual reflection where we start to gather that data, study it, and summarize it. Then we do the goal setting part. Based on that data, where are the goals for where we want to end up in the following year, in this case 23. Then the system building part. Given those goals, what are the process-driven system of small steps we can do each day to achieve that? And finally, the check-ins and adapting to make sure those goals and those systems are still relevant to get us where we need to go. Well-made goals provide the path for you to then trust the process and confidently take steps towards becoming your best trader. I've shared my goals for 23 on Twitter, and I'd love to see you share yours. Any questions or any goals you wish to share, please reach out, and thank you so much for listening.
Do you want more trading secrets from Lance to potentially grow your trading account? Well, then watch the single biggest secret to profitable trading, surprisingly, from Lance, appearing on your screen right now.